Hi friends and welcome back to my channel. Today I will be sharing my November TBR. I'm sorry if I'm sounding a bit weird. I'm down with a cold. I'm getting better, but for the last 1.5 weeks I've had a cold. Me going to Edinburgh for the weekend probably didn't help. I had an amazing time there. You will be seeing vlogs and book shopping vlogs and a book haul from that. I'm currently drinking warm milk with honey in it. I'm doing all of the tips and tricks for how to get rid of my cold. Yesterday I had a really heated up whiskey with sugar and lemon in it. So I'm doing all the things. I've been popping all of the pills. That sounds weird. That won't stop me from doing my November TBR. And the thing is, I had originally planned for October to be my chill month when it came to readathons and TBR games and stuff, and for me to do my TBR game now in November. But I've barely read anything in October. I finished one book. I've started 2 books or 3 books, but I have not finished them yet. To be fair, it's still the 25th of October, so I do have time to finish some more books before the end of the month. But I sort of figured that I think for the rest of the year, November and December, I'm gonna keep to having more relaxed TBRs, or at least not doing any readathons or TBR games and stuff, because there are books I need and want to focus on, and I'm really excited about those books actually. So I don't want any games or prompts or anything like that to mess that up, because I genuinely want to read these books before the end of the year. It's even so that I actually made a end of the year TBR. I'm just gonna insert my end of the year TBR somewhere. I put down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 books, because that's what I fit into the graph. So 11 books that I want to read before the end of the year. These are books that have either been published this year and I would love to read this year because I've been excited about them. These are books I've had on TBR, so I have planned to vlog or similar. And yeah, just books I've been genuinely excited about to read this year and I have not gotten to yet. Many of the books, if not all of the books I'm talking about today, are also on this list. Feel free to join me in having a end of the year TBR. I would love to hear what books you are prioritizing these last couple of months of the year. And also, if you would like to buddy read any of these books with me, please let me know. I would love to buddy read these books. We can keep it very chill, very relaxed. It's just to have someone to keep you accountable. Let's talk about my TBR, because I'm very excited about it. I have a main TBR and I have books I wish to get to in case I have time. My main TBR is only 5 books long, which should be fine, but 2 of them are chunkers. So let's start with the biggest one. In November, I hope to read and finish The Priory of the Orange Tree. This has been on my physical TBR for a couple of years, I think. And I think I got the idea during a live show, my birthday live show or something. I wanted to read this one, and other people wanted to read this one, so we might as well do a buddy read for it. So I am buddy reading this. I put out on Twitter that just reach out if you want to buddy read the book, and we will have a group chat where we are holding each other accountable, but without the stress of reading a certain amount of pages or chapters a day. I also know that there's a prequel to this one being released by the start of next year, I think, so it would have been cool to read this one before that, to see if that would be something I'm interested in. Where do we start with this one? We can start with its size. This edition that I have is just about 800 pages long, so that is awesome. It says, "A world divided, a queendom without an heir, an ancient enemy awakens." My friend has read it. She says that the first 200 pages are pretty slow and then it gets pretty good. I think it's about dragons. I think it's sapphic. I might be completely wrong on that one. It's an epic adult fantasy, dragons. I really don't know. This is one of my main priorities. It would be so cool if I would actually read this one in November. I haven't read that many long books this year. And to finish the year off with a book like this would be pretty epic. And I also want to read more fantasy. So I'm ticking so many boxes with reading this one. Another fantasy that I am buddy reading in November is actually The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson. This has been on multiple of my TBRs and it's on multiple of my year-long challenges. So now's the time for me to read it. I am buddy reading this one with my friend Steffi, who is the one I went to Edinburgh with. So it's one of my real life friends, I guess. I don't know what to call them, IRL friends. I'm still using internet language from 2012. I have only read Elantris by Brandon Sanderson, and I'm dying to start the Mistborn series and to start my journey within the Cosmere, because I get so hyped by news about Brandon Sanderson. Like, I follow Daniel Green and everyone that reports the news about a new author writing in the Cosmere and like Sanderson releasing multiple books and stuff. Like, I'm so intrigued by that. I think Sanderson seems like a really cool person, and yet I have not really read any of his books yet. So it's about time that I venture into this universe. I really want to read a adult fantasy that just grips me and captures me and gets me obsessed. And I feel like Mistborn could do that. From what I understand, this is a story that starts out with the idea, what would the world look like if the bad guy had won? 2 major adult fantasies. I think this one is about 600 pages or so. Yes, about 650 pages. But I am honestly so excited about these 2. And I feel like these 2 alone are a pretty solid TBR for November. These will be my main priorities because they are buddy reads. That's why I want to do buddy reads, because I feel like I will prioritize the books I'm buddy reading. We then have 3 other books that are sort of in the same category, because in October I mentioned that I wanted to do like a vampire vlog where I read vampire books. Surprise, surprise, I have not read any of those books yet that I mentioned, because I barely read in October, which sucks. I have narrowed it down to 3 books I would like to focus on. Like, I still want to do a vampire vlog. I don't care if it will be past Halloween. I don't care. I still want to do that vampire vlog because I like the idea. And what I plan on focusing on for that vlog are recent releases, like 2020 or 2022 releases of vampire books. And a few of these are actually new purchases that I recently hauled in my very delayed birthday haul. On this TBR we have Woman Eating by Claire Coda. This is about Lydia, who is very conflicted, I guess, because she can't eat any of the regular food she wants to eat. She can only digest blood. If Lydia is to find a way to exist in the world, she must reconcile the conflicts within her, between her demon and human side, her mixed ethnic heritage and her relationship with food and in turn humans. Before any of this, however, she must eat. This is a 2022 release, I believe. I think it was released earlier in the year. And I've seen it in a few places. I haven't really heard that much about it. It is fairly short, like 250 pages or so. I'm just generally intrigued. If this might be a complete hit or miss. The second book I want to read is The Pallbearers Club. This is also a recent purchase of mine. From what I understand, it's a weird book, and I only know from, I think, the Goodreads site that this one features vampires. It doesn't say on the back, but it should work with the vampires vibe, I think. I think we're following some kids that mourn people with no one else to bury them. And we have a character, Mercy, who takes photos of the dead. So it's about 2 characters. We're following Art and we're following Mercy. And I think Art has written this story, but Mercy reads the story and makes her own notes in it. So it's actually pretty cool because you can see like notes in the margins and like things are underlined and stuff like that. So I think it can be a very interesting read, sort of mixed media-ish. It says that Mercy thinks Art's novel, this book, isn't a memoir and that it needs some work. And she's more than happy to set the record straight. So I think it's also like unreliable narrator sort of thing. Like, who should we believe, Art or Mercy? I think this falls into the horror genre, and this was also released, I think, during the summer of this year or something. So another 2022 release featuring vampires. Final one I got for my birthday. That is The Reluctant Vampire Queen. I don't think this is a 2022 release. I think it's a 2020 release. Or is it a 2022? Maybe. Okay, I'm not certain. It could be a 2022 release. I'm not certain if it was released this year or if it was released as a paperback this year. But it's a recent release. And it says vampire in the title. So that is cool. It's about Mo Meridrew, who is an independent young woman, committed vegetarian and president of the Debating Society, and potentially vampire queen of Great Britain. There's a pros and cons list. It seems like a fun, upbeat contemporary, but with a vampire twist to it. And it seems like a lot of fun. These 3 books together, I feel like they would make a good vlog, and they are not that long, so perhaps I could actually rush through them, depending on. But yeah, I am genuinely very excited about all of these books, and I would love to read them before the end of the year, because they are recent releases and because I want to make this vlog happen. These are like my 5 main books that I hope to read in November. This is the plan for November. should be pretty happy with that. But, of course, I can't just have a short and quick and simple and sweet and nice TBR. I always need to mention books that are so unattainable for me to actually get to. I did show you my end of the year TBR, and in case I have time in November, I probably won't, because the more I'm looking at the Priory of the Orange Tree, I'm getting more and more convinced that I won't have time to read anything else at all. But if time were to present itself, I have a few books that are 2022 releases that I have been quite excited about, because do you know what's happening in November? The Goodreads Choice Awards are happening in November, at least if we are to base it off of previous year's dates. I honestly think it's a lot of fun to participate in the Goodreads Choice Awards, but I have like my own rule that I can't really vote unless I have read at least 2 books from each category. Those categories will showcase books that were published this year, meaning 2022 publications, so I should therefore focus on books that were published in 2022. First we have You Made a Fool of Beauty with Your Death by Akwaeke Emesi. I got this from the Afterlight box from Illumicrate. It's a contemporary romance. I believe it's their first romance novel, or like romance in this way. I don't really know much about it. I've had it on previous TBRs. I was so excited about this. This is the reason I started to subscribe to the Afterlight box actually. So I should really read it. It's not too long. Yeah, another romance I'm crazy excited about is American Roommate Experiment by Elena Armas. It's the same author as the one who wrote The Spanish Love Deception. I loved The Spanish Love Deception. I'm certain I will love this one as well. This was also a birthday gift, and I'm so excited about this one. Like, yeah, I'm convinced that this will be in the romance category, so I should read it because of that. We have Carrie Soto is Back, which is Taylor Jenkins Reid's most recent release. Another one of my most anticipated releases of the year. It's like historical fiction, contemporary, really fun, celebrities, glamour, and I'm convinced that it will be nominated in some category for Goodreads Choice Awards. So I need to get to this ASAP. My most anticipated release of the year is actually Babel by R.F. Kuang. This is the Illumicrate edition of it. R.F. Kuang is the author of The Poppy War. I love The Poppy War series. It's, I guess, my favorite adult fantasy series. And I'm so excited about this one. I've only heard the most incredible things about it. It's a shame that I didn't read it already in September, but as I said, I have barely been reading. But I really want to get to this one because I'm convinced that this will be in the top for the fantasy category, and I want to read it before that. I think this is like dark academia, light fantasy, urban fantasy with a historical setting. Is it historical even? It takes place in Oxford. It's about translation, the power of language and translation, I think. Also look at this edge. It's so cool. It's so cool. It's a shame I haven't read it yet. That's all I can say, really. And I'm convinced that it will be in the like top 2 for fantasy. I promise you that. Final book I want to read, and it's for different reasons than the previous ones, but the book I wish to read this year is Book of Night. And that is mainly because I want to make a decision whether I want to keep this book or not, because I feel like there are so many other people that would like to have this book more than I do. I'm not the biggest Holly Black fan. I enjoyed Folk of the Air series, but it's not like my favorite series or anything like that. But I am curious about this book, but I'm also very, very skeptic because it's an adult fantasy, but it's short AF. It's like 300 pages. And it's a standalone. And I'm like, how can you fit all of that complexity that usually is in adult fantasies into 300 pages? So I'm very skeptical to this one. I am curious to read it. I want to read it. And I want to read it sooner rather than later because I want to know if I want to keep this book, basically. For those reasons, this is on my end of the year TBR. So those were 5 additional books that I am hoping to read this year, like either in November or December, and I will try to prioritize them if I have time in November. That's it for my November TBR. I'm very excited about November. Hopefully, like, life has been a mess lately, and this cold on top of that really hasn't helped. Life has been good, but just a lot. I'm hoping that things will slow down a bit in November. We're gonna have to see, or at least that I will have a better routine in November because I have been slacking with my routine as well. I'm excited about everyone's end of the year content that is coming up as well. Please let me know if there's any special end of the year content that you would like to see from me. Also let me know what books are on your end of the year TBR. And with that said, thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed. Please take care, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye!
You gotta just go for it. Don't think about what comes after.